Hampi, 1447. At the heart of the Vijayanagara Empire sprawls a bazaar unlike anything the medieval world has seen. A roaring, fragrant cathedral of commerce where Persian horses brush shoulders with Gujarati silk merchants, and the air hangs heavy with cardamom, burning ghee, and ambition. Here, beneath a strip of cotton shade, sits Arjuna, 26 years old, son of a dead scribe, owner of nothing but a reed pen, a clay inkpot, and a mind sharp enough to cut stone. He is a market scribe, a man whose words belong entirely to others, whose careful hand gives voice to those the world has rendered voiceless. Merchants trust him. Priests acknowledge him. Ministers do not notice him. That invisibility has always been his shelter. Today, it is about to become something far more dangerous. Kamala's hands tremble as she presses the document into Arjuna's keeping. The bazaar thunders around them. Silk merchants crying prices, temple bells cascading from the Virupaksha tower, the Tungabhadra's distant murmur beneath it all. But Arjuna hears none of it. His trained eye moves across the palm leaf like a physician reading a wound. There, a ghost of erased ink beneath fresh script. There, a seal impressed at an angle no official hand would permit. The weaving lands her grandmother's grandmother worked, the looms that fed 1,000 families, have been rewritten into the private holdings of Minister Venkata Raya. It is masterful forgery. It is devastating forgery. Arjuna's reed pen rests behind his ear, weightless as a feather, though what it must now carry threatens to crush him entirely. The smell of wet ink carries him back. Arjuna is no longer a man. He is a boy again, crouching behind sacks of tamarind in a torchlit corridor, watching soldiers drag his father through the polished granite halls of the treasury complex. A reed pen still tucked behind the old man's ear. That detail never leaves him. The Tungabhadra had run copper-colored that morning, as though the river itself understood what was coming. His father had known the numbers that did not balance, had written them down, had trusted that truth, committed to palm leaf, was inviolable. He was wrong. Now Arjuna sits in the lamplight of his small market stall, the falsified deed trembling in his hands, and his father's silence fills the room like smoke. The question is no longer whether he has found the truth. It is whether he possesses the courage to wield it. He comes without warning. The market fractures before him, silk merchants pressing flat against their stalls, flower sellers sweeping marigold garlands from his path, children yanked back by urgent hands. Minister Venkata Raya moves through Hampi's great bazaar like a stone, through still water, his palanquin draped in crimson and gold thread, surrounded by soldiers whose spears catch the merciless afternoon sun. The smell of sandalwood incense cannot mask the sharper scent of fear. Arjuna watches from the shadow of a tamarind tree, the falsified deed burning against his chest where he has hidden it. This man controls the royal land registry. Every deed, every boundary stone, every tenant's claim in the empire flows through his ink-stained fingers. And somewhere in those fingers, thousands of livelihoods are already being crushed. Arjuna understands now that he is not holding a document. He is holding a fuse. At the river's edge, where the Tungabhadra breathes its cool mist over ancient stone ghats, two men meet in the amber light of a dying afternoon. Arjuna carries his burden like a stone pressed against his ribs. The falsified deed folded inside his cotton uttariya, ink still carrying its terrible secret. Shastri, old and deliberate, smells of sandalwood ledgers and decades of careful silence. His fingers, stain the deep ochre of turmeric and iron gall ink, trace the counterfeit seal with the certainty of a man who has memorized truth. Around them, washermen beat cloth against wet rock, their rhythmic percussion masking whispered urgency. A fragile trust takes root between youth and age, between desperation and hard-won wisdom. Together they possess something more dangerous than any blade. They know exactly what the forgery reveals. Now they must decide how to use it. Deep within the tangled lanes behind the Vitala temple complex, where lamp-black and tamarind ink thicken the air like a confession, Arjuna crosses a threshold no honest man should cross. The forger's chamber is suffocating, low-ceilinged, reeking of heated copper and old fear. Around him, practiced hands press stolen seals into cooling wax, with the casual precision of men who have done this 1,000 times. Arjuna's fingers do not tremble. They cannot. Beneath the fold of his uttarya, pressed flat against his ribs, a slender palm strip waits. Letter by letter, stroke by invisible stroke, he transcribes the clerk's list. Names, parcels, bribes rendered in elegant Kannada script. Each character scratched in silence is an act of warfare. When he finally steps back into the blinding Hampi sun, the evidence breathes against his skin like a burning coal, and somewhere behind him, a door creaks open. They come for him at the hour of lamps, when Hampi's temple district blazes orange with 1,000 oil flames. Arjuna runs. Sandals slapping wet granite, the copper smell of his own blood trailing behind him like an accusation. The minister's men are close, their torches cutting through jasmine-scented darkness. He tears past carved gods and dancing apsaras, past the thunder of the Tungabhadra below, lungs burning with desperate prayer. The reed scroll, that single damning document, is pressed against his wound. He finds the pillar. His fingers know it by touch, by faith, by the muscle memory of a scribe who has always trusted stone more than men. He seals the hollow. The evidence survives, even if he may not. Somewhere behind him, footsteps slow, and a far more dangerous hunt is about to begin. The hall of audiences shimmers with the scent of sandalwood and old power. Arjuna stands barefoot on cold granite, his reed case pressed against his chest like a breastplate. Shastri, silver-haired and resolute, has spent every favor he possesses to bring them here. Before the royal advisor's carved teak throne, Arjuna lays the evidence. The forged deed beside the registry scrolls, each discrepancy a quiet indictment rendered in his own meticulous hand. Venkataraya moves through the chamber like a monsoon cloud, his silk robes rustling with contempt, his accusations precise and poisonous. He calls Arjuna a fraud, a grievance peddler, a shadow of his disgraced father. The court listens. The scales of judgment hang suspended, trembling. Somewhere behind gilded screens, unseen eyes are watching, and not all of them belong to allies. The royal seal descends with the weight of centuries. Hot crimson wax pools across the parchment like blood finally given purpose, and the carved brass stamp of the Vijayanagara throne presses down, deliberate, irrevocable, absolute. The scent of sandalwood incense mingles with fresh ink, as court officials read aloud the decree restoring 10,000 bighas of weaving land to those who worked them. Venkataraya stands stripped of his silk robes and authority, reduced to something ordinary, something mortal. Arjuna watches from the corridor's edge, reed pen still tucked behind his ear, fingers dark with the stains of his trade. He has seen seals pressed 1,000 times before. Routine acts, forgettable moments. Today, the wax cools into something else entirely. Proof that truth, once committed to parchment, can outlast any man's ambition. But powerful men, history warns, rarely accept their defeats gracefully. The bazaar breathes again. Spice merchants weigh their measures, silk traders unfurled bolts of indigo and saffron, and the Tungabhadra rolls on, indifferent and eternal. Arjuna returns to his reed mat beneath the tamarind shade, to the clay inkpot and the stack of palm leaves worn smooth by 1,000 petitions. His station is unchanged, no gold, no title, no sword at his hip. Yet those who pass him now pause a moment longer. A weaver nods. A widow presses her palms together. A child watches his hand with wide, wondering eyes. The city of Hampi, radiant and ruthless, has not bent for him, and he has not bent for it. He dips the reed into the dark ink, and the gesture is both ordinary and sacred. But the falsified deeds are not the last secrets this empire keeps.